31 years ago today, I said, I do. I walked down the aisle. I said my vows. All my family and my friends and my oldest son were there. And I got married. Yeah, I got married to a wonderful, handsome gentleman from a whole lifetime ago, it feels now. I want to share this story because I never have. And the reason I'm really wanting to dive in is because I want to give you a little backstory of kind of what got me into being a matchmaker. And so this is a big one. It's going to be interesting. So I am Jacqueline. I've been a matchmaker and dating coach for a long time, actually it's 15 years. But 31 years ago, or 32 years ago, I should say, I was running a daycare business out of my home. I was taking care of a whole lot of kids. I was a solo parent with my first child. And so I had all of these amazing children that were in my care. Actually, had 6 kids under the age of 2 that I took care of full time. And then I had 4 kids that would show up after school until their parents could come pick them up. So I had 10 kids, rotating basis. And, it was diapers and feedings and naps and rotation. And I loved every minute of it. The things that I did with those kids, the schedules I had with those kids, I was dang good. And these families would travel miles. They came into me and they would often come half an hour, 45 minutes to come to me, even though obviously there are plenty of other daycare providers nearby. But I had built a beautiful home and community. Well, while I was busy raising my son, I was realizing that I need to find somebody, especially when the kids in the daycare had dads picking them up. My son would look and go, well, where's my dad? I started to call their dad's dad, thinking that it was just a universal phrase. So I decided to be proactive and try to figure out, how am I going to find my person? I wasn't going to do that door-to-door salesman guy, and I didn't get to go out a whole lot. So I went to the Yellow Pages, and for those of you that don't know, there used to be a book full of all the names and numbers before our lovely online world. So I found this company called Great Expectations. It was in Johns Landing area of Portland, Oregon. And I went in and checked it out. And they had a great special going on because I was female and under 25. And you would get your picture, your video, and your photography, your profile done. And then they would put it all together for you. It would be filled up in a spot in like a library of it was really cool. It was full of white notebooks. So those of you that know me from my early career, you came into my office and I would have all these white notebooks in symbolism to those days. But as a client of Great Expectations, I had a lot of fun with it. So when people would find my information, they would actually go to the front desk and fill out a request of a profile to be mailed to me, letting me know they were interested in meeting me. So when I wothe go to my mailbox, I would open my mailbox and all these postcards would fall out because I got a lot of requests. There weren't very many gals like me in the organization. So I had requests from people of all ages, all backgrounds, all situations, all locations, and I said yes to quite a few. The fun part is it was an open opportunity for me to grow and explore. This is something I'm always telling my clients because I remember how much I appreciated the opportunity to really expand my circle of possibilities. So as I was having fun being reactive and exploring what was out there, I went on dates, I met people, had a good time, but nobody really caught my attention. But I was so busy with it, I hadn't been proactive until one day I said, okay, I need to go in there and look and see, who do I want to meet? So I pulled out the white notebooks for me, not just to respond, but to be proactive. And there were a few people that kind of, oh, I'm kind of interested. And there was really one guy that kept standing out to me, and I wasn't positive if I should go out with him. But there had been another guy who had requested me, and I thought, okay, I'll go with him. And you know what the real reason I did? Is because the guy I was interested in was 6'6". The guy that was interested in me was 6'2". Well, I had never gone out with a guy that tall, and I thought, maybe I should test out 6'2" before I go to 6'6" to see if that's not too tall for me. I'm 5'8", so I'm not that short, but still it felt like a lot. So I went out with Mr. 6'2", and he lived on the coast. It was a lot of fun, a great guy. And eventually we just didn't have enough spark to keep it going. So then I kept thinking about Mr. 6'6", and I kept wondering how he was doing and, if I should meet him or not. He really wasn't my type, but energetically, I was constantly pulled to him. So I finally went in and I submitted a request. I said, okay, I'm going to do my first official request. And I I went to the front desk and I said, okay, can you tell this person I'm interested? And then I took a big breath. I remember that feeling standing there like, okay, now it's me. I'm putting out myself. I'm saying I'm interested. So within a week, the phone rang and I just knew as I was about to answer the phone, because mind you, this is before caller ID. I just knew it was him. And so I quickly put my son in the high chair and grabbed some popsicles because, the cord of the phone could only go so far. And I answered it and we just had this great conversation. We clicked. It was nice. It was really easy. And I felt good and I felt giddy and I felt excited. Finally, it felt wonderful and optimistic. So we met for our first date. Our first date was at Mozzie's. If you know the Portland area from years ago, that was the best place, the best soup. Oh, minestrone, it was so good. I love that spot. No longer around, but it was so good. And if you've ever had a date at Mozzie's back in the day, make sure you comment below because I know kindred souls understand it. We had this great date. He was wonderful. He was super giving. I remember him taking his glasses off because there was a game on the TV behind and he didn't want to keep looking at the TV as a natural instinct. So I respected and appreciated that. He also had a broken arm. So he was a little bit crippled in a way that he was just very present because he couldn't do a whole lot. And he didn't eat his vegetables, which I couldn't understand that. So those are the weird things you remember on a first date. And then I had a weird situation myself where I saw an ex that I did not want to see. And so all of a sudden I said, I have to leave. I've got to go. Somebody's here. I don't want to see. And he was so kind, so patient. And I just had to run. And he said, oh, no worries. I'm taking care of it. He took care of the cost, paid the bill, and I ran outside. And while I'm scared and nervous and I don't want to see somebody, he kept the cool, kept the calm. It was very, very good. It was super awesome. And then he came out and he was very respectful and he gave me a hug. And that's all he did was a hug. And I was like, oh, I was probably not interested anymore. But okay, at least I didn't have to see the other person. At least I gave it a chance. I did my thing. But then I couldn't stop thinking about him all weekend. And he had said he was going to be helping his folks out of town with their dog and they needed some assistance. And so I might not hear from him, didn't know. We didn't really talk about the future. Who knew at that moment? I was just like, I like this person, but I think I blew it. So this date was on a Friday. On Monday, I still hadn't heard from him. So I reached out and said, hello, I apologize. I was weird, blah, blah, blah. And he responded back so kind and so cool and so fine. And he was totally good with it. And we went out again. And guess what? We were engaged within 5 weeks. Yeah. And we got married a year later. So we met on a Friday. A year later, it was on a Saturday. And there you go. Now, the marriage didn't last. No, but I got 2 more kids. And now I am a mom of 2 boys and a girl. And we had a beautiful 12-year marriage for a very long time. There were so many good things. Yes, it's the story for another day, why it didn't work. But that's not the point of the story today. The point of the story is that I wanted to share that because I met him through this service, because I met him in this program, that's what originally got me curious about becoming a matchmaker. I even went back a few years after I found him and we got married and started our family. I also started my Mary Kay career and taught makeup. So I went back to this matchmaking agency and I would do the makeup and I would help people in their videos. I would help them with their profiles. So I was a cheerleader of support. Plus, my then husband and I would come and speak to people to show them that it worked, that it was successful, and that we understood what they were going through. So I had this core essence of all this knowledge from how they did their program. Obviously, it was all offline. Then the world changed, and we got apps and dating sites and internet and messaging and all of these changes. So in my 15 years of matchmaking, I have evolved from my original experience 32 years ago to now, where I have this deluxe website. I meet all of my people. I can work remote. All of these details were not possible back in the day, but it was the core essence that got me started. Now, there is a whole nother story that actually made me turn the dial and make me start my business 15 years ago. But again, another day for another story. But I want to bring into, before I wrap up this video of sharing a little more of my story, is that even though my marriage, it only lasted 12 years, it had its time. We had lots of great experiences, and being divorced was a lot harder than being married. That's again another story we'll cover. I got more to come to you. But what I really want to talk about is the fact that I was pursued like crazy from there. I had so many men asking me out. I literally would open up my mailbox and postcards would just fall out one after another. It was crazy. But it was because there was all these different types of people that were interested. But when I found my success is when I became proactive, when I chose who I wanted. I didn't wait. And you know what? He saw, my then husband, before he and I met, he said he saw my profile, but he kept saying I was out of his league. So he skipped it. So had I waited for him to take initiative, we never would have met. My other two children wouldn't be here. So we have to stop waiting for everybody else to make the decision, to make the move, to do all the things we want. We have to make the decision. We have to make the move. I knew I wanted to get married again. I'm married. I'd never been married before. I wanted to get married. I knew I wanted to have more children. I knew I wanted somebody who was going to be there for my son that I had on my own before. I knew I wanted to completely encapsulate into a new life with an expanded family. And I was on a mission, and it was accomplished because I knew what I wanted. If I had just kept waiting for everybody else to get ready for what I wanted, it wasn't going to happen. So once I found the person I wanted, we were engaged quickly because we knew it. And then we could start planning our future and building our family and having our wonderful children. This is so important for everybody to stop and realize that the moment you make a decision for what you want, anything and everything is possible, whether it is life, love, relationships, anything you want. But you have to make the decision, because if you keep waiting on the sidelines, the time is going to keep happening and going by. So there's a little bit more on my deeper story of what happened to get me to actually become a matchmaker. And yes, I have been married. I'm not right now. And I am blessed for the time I had. Everybody comes in your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. And I appreciate the reason and the season. And I also am glad it wasn't a lifetime, because I've had so many other experiences that I never would have had I just stayed in a relationship that wasn't good for me. But we'll talk about that another time. I'm grateful for what I did get for the time I had it. So I said I do 31 years ago. And now I say, what's next? Let's see what the possibilities are. Let's keep the conversation going. So comment, like, and subscribe, and tell me if there's any points in the story that you can relate to.